Now in this second meeting, I would first of all request Arun Kumar ji to make the presentation on the action plan.
Your Holiness. Yesterday, you saw this morning all the 6 presentations. They were much more elaborate and a lot more discussion happened with each of those presentations. And then in the afternoon, we all got together and spent a lot of time, effort to see what are the actual next steps. It's good to have a discussion, but since your intervention yesterday morning at the Taj, there we said we have to come back. And so I will quickly go through what is. So basically, there were a couple of consensus ideas that we all agreed on various things. The first, most important thing was that the work that the Emory University has done, that has taken time, effort, energy to create a really fantastic body of work, and in that body of work was a framework. Right? So they might be taking that framework and making their own curriculum, but that framework, everybody thought was really beautifully constructed, and that we all agreed that going forward, any program that was made by anybody, which was going to be as the universal or secular ethics, should be based on that framework. So even the Tata Institute agreed that even though they have already been working on their own program, they would refer to the Emory framework. So that would be the framework from which any further move would happen in the making of a curriculum. So that was the first consensus factor that came through. And then we said also that any group or individual seeking to develop a curriculum based on the Emory University shall obtain the express approval, and this is what we were going to request you, that you would appoint a body by you who would be a designated body of some people who would look at any of these programs to make sure the due diligence was done, that the quality of the curriculum, even though might not be identical because it needs to come from different sides, kept to a certain standard, that it had referred to the framework that had come out of the Emory, and then even though they had gone beyond the framework, using the framework, but still needed to maintain a certain quality. So our request to you was that if you could formulate such a body of people, the number is purely up to you, who would then be able to be a filter in such a way to make sure that whatever anybody was creating, otherwise, like Mr. McLaughlin had said yesterday, there have been many theories like the Howard Gardner theory, where they have come up with a theory. Many people have misused it. They have just used the name. So to stop that from happening for any institution to say that my curriculum is based on His Holiness the Dalai Lama's thought, or that it is based on the Emory framework, to stop that kind of devaluation, I think it was necessary, that you would constitute a body that could continue to be that filter. So that was another request that we felt was necessary for this purpose to go forward. And that is, because of that, we wanted the quality control and an accreditation system to put into place to check the fidelity of the implementation. After clearing from the office of His Holiness, then and only then, that same organization could actually go to the government institution, whichever government, whether it's Bhutan or Thailand or India or whatever, to approach for a wider reach. Because in many places, that private organizations can only reach out to a limited number, which is important, but to actually get a wider footprint, it needs to get into the government systems, and that should go to the government system after it has got the clearance from the office of His Holiness. So then the concrete plans, this is the basic consensus that we had talked about, that the Emory University was going to first finalize the framework. It is almost near completion. Until this is finalized, a lot of the other work cannot go forward because everything is going to be based on this framework. And this is almost near completion, and that should be ready pretty good. Then we have got actually some very concrete dates and time of various organizations who are going to be doing things. So that was very exciting to see at the end of the evening yesterday that there are very definite things that are going to be happening. So in June 2017, the Tata Institute will finalize their curriculum, and July 2017, the 3C learning that is from Emory will be finalized also. In July 2017, the Center of Escalation of Peace, our training material will also be ready, but then we'll have to put it into the framework from Emory to make sure that it is keeping in touch with that. In August 2017, Ayur Gyan Nyas, who made a presentation just now, they will be completing their first of the 4 components. They had explained this morning that there were 4 components. They feel that the first component will be ready by August of 2017. Then NIPA, the presentation that we made, fascinating presentation that was made this morning, that they would go to the UGC by August 2017 for wider implementation. So they would go to the University Grants Commission with their program so that it can go out into various colleges. In September 2017, the Krishnamurti Foundation, the presentation there, that teacher training education program curriculum should be ready, and then how they're going to take it forward will be something that, because it's going to the Bihar government, it's going to the Andhra government, and then through that to various places. So this is in the development of the curriculum. On this aspect, we've got very definite dates by which time a lot of material should be ready, and we are hoping that before that you will be able to help set up that filter, that little body, the accreditation body, that will look at these various things and say that yes, this does live up to the standards that we need to and must stick by. Then in the actual teacher training program, we are saying the program that I discussed with you about those 1,000 teachers, that we will depend on when we can get dates from you, when you will be free. We will be ready by July, anytime after July, whatever. So we have not put a date on that. That is date, I'm just saying that once we get dates from you, we will put that whole program together. In May 2017, Ayurgram is actually doing teacher training. There's already decided and in place. So that's going to happen starting a couple of days from now. In July 2017, again, Ayurgyan is going to launch. This is teacher training that they're doing, but in July they're going to go into the schools, right? So both things are going to happen very fast. Then from July to December, Emory has a very vast program that they're going to do for teacher preparation workshops, right? And this is happening at Atlanta, at Aspen, in Barcelona in Spain, in Dehradun in India, together with Veer, Vancouver in Canada, in Peoria, and we were informed that if any program is successful in Peoria, then it can be successful anywhere in the world. It is a very difficult place.
In the US.
In the US.
So what he said will be available.
Peoria did and the Arabi security test. Some of the such the Pagela, the not which way, Arena, Kavai,
Then is it Whitefish, then in Dharamshala is the last one. Then what we were going to talk about, that any universal or secular ethics program which has been now approved by the Office of His Holiness, that body that we want you to constitute, may be submitted to the Ministry of Human Resource Development for countrywide implementation in teacher training and student education in schools and universities. So any of these programs that have been, if that organization so desires, they can then take it also to the Government of India. And the Secretary who was here yesterday very clearly said that what has not been mentioned over here, that he gets concrete proposals from various organizations, and he said that if a concrete proposal on how to take this into the school was submitted to him, he would be very happy to look at it very positively and help us take it to the next level. And this is something that he said very clearly yesterday, and I think grateful thanks should be given for that. I think that, sir, is the basic plan, the immediate rollout for concrete action plan. That these things till December are going to happen, but a lot of this actually depends on that little body of approval body being set up, and soon as MRE's framework is ready, then a lot of things will start rolling out. So that is the action plan that we put together yesterday.
I think Geshe Labdola had made some more other suggestions to be added to this. In teacher training, you were talking about
Tibetan
just
schools.
about in the Tibetan schools.
That's fine. I already mentioned. Thank you, Arun. And now I would like to request. Now I would like to request Your Holiness to give the concluding remarks.
Discussion.
Firstly, I very much encouraged. They already, say some institution or some universities already carry some work on this line. On this line. Wonderful. I appreciate it. Now I felt, first, you see, I think some groups, scholars, not some but the may appoint supplementary.
Not that it's always appoints people form.
But you see, genuine sort of experienced scholar and some group and visit these different places. And you see, sort of observe or study what effect on the students and then discuss with teachers or students like that. I think the first step, I think some small group scholars and visit this area. What kind of research, what kind of sort of effect? Then, one occasion of sort of bigger sort of the gathering, and you see report. I felt like that. Then eventually, you see some kind of more formal sort of committee or something. That we can do, no problem. But you see, not necessarily say Dalai Lama or something, but a democratic way, some kind of what to say, more people, more experienced people come, and then you set up some kind of small group. So because selfish reason, if something fails, I'm not there. I just suggest, appeal. Now response, I think, come, I think, really satisfactorily. Right. So now, our common responsibility. This is for common aim. Now, common responsibility, not just pick one person. No, I don't like that. So firstly, I think we should 가져다.
We should have people who actually go to the schools and where these education plans be implemented so that they could research and find out what's going on.
So that's my view. I felt that. But in any way, you see, we have to work seriously because the presence of education, and now I do not want to repeat that. See, many problems I feel I think we fail to use basic human nature, human intelligence properly. Now religion, I do over almost in this country 3,000 years. Like myself, now follow Buddha Dharma. I always used to say, pray, so long space remains, so long sentient suffering remains, I will remain in order to serve. But that gives me inner strength. But the actual benefit, I don't know. So when we talk entire mother sentient being, other galaxies, just pray. Nothing you can do. Only this planet. On this planet also, limitless animals, birds, fish, insects, only prayer. Nothing can be done. The only possibility is 7 billion human beings on this planet. If someone like me truly dedicate, whole our life, dedicate for well-being of sentient being, because in reality, only 7 billion human beings on this planet. We can do something. So now, through prayer and some rituals, I think 1,000 years we carried that, and difficult. So sometimes I tell people, like you see, Shia and Sunni fighting. I'm quite sure both sides pray to Allah. So Allah, I think, confused. Now which side his breast should go? Difficult. So now, you see, I think we have to rely on the explore basic human nature. That's karuna, compassion. Then only that way the man-made problem can reduce, eventually eliminate. So there's no other choice except how to sort of educate people. Talking about power or money or external thing will not bring us a happy humanity. In order to create happy humanity, now ultimately a sense of oneness of entire human being, human being. So that not by because of force or not by because of the rules or regulation, but through education, voluntarily adaptable sense of responsibility to create happier humanity. And through that way, I think the peaceful world, other animals, I think 1,000 years, 10,000, million years, I think they create little problem here and there. They never, I think, animal or insect never create war. Only we human being. So when we talk about peaceful world, ultimately our responsibility, we human beings' responsibility. So now basic human nature is anger, then no hope. But basic human nature is more compassion. So there's real hope. Now the drawback is existing education, not adequate. So that's my main motivation. So I really was very much impressed. You see, many institutions already carrying some work in this respect. Wonderful. Thank you. Now the finalize. That's, I think, no need hurry. Further investigation, further sort of study, research. I think that's necessary. So I think within one year, maybe, or 6 months, if we set up some professor, some sort of educationist, and also some experience, then visit these different places where we are already implementing something. Then we have to now not theoretically sort of examine, but actually how much change, how much effective. You see, as far as I know, 2 cities in America, there's name, there's this city of kindness, city of compassion. So the mayor of the city of kindness, mayor, so that mayor, I know him. So these names created by themselves, not my sort of suggestion. But then the mayor, she told me, one time told me, with that name, within the city, they carry some sort of work regarding kindness. So result within the city, the students much peaceful. And many students, you see, much willingness to serve other people. So it makes differences. So now, like that, I think now time comes, we have to study seriously, result side. Then another sort of occasion or meeting, then kazoda, yeah, nabeja katoa. So what it is on the detail of
We can see what more we can add to the programs from different scholars.
There also can be, I think, two levels. One mainly for Indian. Indian case is a little bit different. Than the Christian countries. So they are more international level. Within the country, you see, India already have this sort of tradition, religious harmony and non-violence. These quite familiar. Then with that, I think in this country, India's case, I really committed revival of ancient Indian knowledge, such as ancient Indian psychology. We are a student of that. We all is a student of these ancient Indian knowledge. And then logic. Wonderful. I think yesterday, whether I mentioned or not, you see, some of my friends, sometimes I jokingly telling them, you see, my case, 9 hours sleep. Then next morning, about 3 o'clock, wake up, and then 5 hours meditation, sharpening my mind so that I can cheat other people. I mentioned that one my Indian friend, he responded. He spent only 6 hours sleep, so he cannot cheat other people. So these ancient Indians of knowledge, logic, and full of knowledge about the human sort of system of human emotion, human mind. I think eventually should be part of Indian curriculum. I think that consider strictly academic subject, not religious subject. But that's for India like that. And then another level, international humanity. Otherwise, in the Judo-Christian background country and also Muslim. I think these ancient Indian knowledge may not be fit, isn't it? So, I think two levels within the India. Then, I think we study very carefully, and because of the
By knowing the reality.
the result of these things, then we can carry one proposal to Indian government. Okay.
In fact, Your Holiness, nowadays there is a lot of emphasis on the value-based education in the MHRD, and various suggestions have come in a concrete manner, and they are under consideration in the government. And the same way I was saying, Mr. Kapoor yesterday, if a concrete suggestion comes out of the deliberations, it will be seriously deliberated in the MHRD. And and then, like Your Holiness, I mean, government will see that how best, I mean, this value education, it has been accepted now. The value-based education has to be an integral part. In principle, it is agreed at the highest level.
Yes.
So now this it is going now. How it will be implemented in the various schools? I mean, there are some 20,000 schools under the Kendriya Vidyalaya, CBSE schools and all that, where it will be easier to implement the agenda. And the state government schools, which are roughly 15 million, I mean, it will be through way of persuasion and writing them advisories, which we do from time to time. So, I think, Your Holiness, I mean, in times to come, I think the value education, say in another 6 months or 1 year, it will remain a core issue. This value education in the Indian schools.
And sir, Your Holiness is also speaking of ancient Indian knowledge in the sense of, for example, the Nalanda Panditas, who wrote these very subliminal and institutional Indian texts on Indian wisdom. So is there any scope or inroads for that as well?
Till now, I mean, in fact, you know what like this value-based education, this definitely, Your Holiness, as I already said, it has been accepted. So that we are working.
Very good. Very good. So now regarding certain sort of concepts such as the science of mind and also logic, so we learned from Buddhist text. But we have to make a distinction. These certain subjects which mentioned in Buddhist text, as you mentioned in Nalanda, Masters of Writing, but we should take this separately for academic subject. Therefore now, I think more than 15, 20 years, I think at least, more than 50 years. So, you see, out of 300 volumes, Buddhist text, which you see translated from India, mainly Sanskrit and some Pali. So Buddha's own sort of teaching about 100 volumes. Then, like Nagarjuna and these masters sort of writing 200 or 225 volumes. So altogether 300 volumes. So I felt, judging the content, we can divide 3 parts. One, science, about science of mind, science. And then second part, philosophy. So trying to find truth, as you mentioned, truth, very complicated. I think, you see, Buddha himself, you see, the first Dhamma teaching, the second Dhamma teaching, third Dhamma teaching, you see, he taught a little different truth. So sometimes the follower of Buddha or Nalanda Master also is some confused. So then I think Buddha very kindly taught different philosophy, the ultimate nature of truth. So that he gives his follower to more think, more study, more analyze. So in any way, philosophy like true truth is very much similar quantum physics. According to Madhyamika philosophy, then this is quantum physics. So when quantum physicists explain about quantum physics, then we very familiar these things. So therefore, such sort of philosophical views are certainly we can take academic subject. Buddhists use these understanding deeper level of reality compared for our very subtle level of ignorance compared. So real jihad, they are jihad. So according to Muslim friend, jihad means combat your own destructive emotion, not hitting. So therefore, as a Buddhist, use this philosophy in order to know the very nature of ultimate reality, because wrong view about ultimate reality create basis of exaggeration. Here also one, my friend, one American scientist, several decades he helping people who's mentally much disturbed because of anger. After a few decades, he sort of was dealing with such patient. I think 84, no, correct. I can't remember. His age then, 84-year-old. First I met in Stockholm, in Sweden. He told me, when people develop anger, the object, the person feel angry, appears very negative. But reality, 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. Not true. So this is exactly Nagarjuna's text mentioned that. So in order to know the reality, ultimate truth, is to reduce basis of that exaggeration. So that's Buddhists use these things. But scientists, quantum physics is some knowledge. Okay. So these can be can take academic subject. Then the rest of the volumes are Buddhism. So that's for Buddhist. But out of 300 volumes, I think few volumes, we can take as a sort of because of the text or we can collect from these sort of text separately science or one because of the correct philosophy and object philosophy but science desenchik philosophy religion or Buddhist like that. So therefore we can take in Nalanda Masters of teaching separately academic subject. I think logic, very important. When we discuss with, I have sort of, I think more than 30 years serious discussion. I have experience discussing with scientists, mainly 4 fields: cosmology, new biology, physics, then psychology. So years of discussion. Then it becomes very clear. For cosmology on these fields, we learn many useful things. And as a result of our sort of mutual learning, the casualty is no longer, believe, Mount Meru, no problem. So in physical world, very useful information from learning from scientific finding. Then philosophical field, yes, I found, you see, there are many Buddhist philosophy, particularly Madhyamika philosophy, and also some extent the Chidamata's philosophy also. You see, there is observer, the object there. No longer observer, no longer object. So that's exactly 100%. It's the same view, the Chidamata's viewpoint. So,
So in the Chidamata philosophy, they assert that the subject and object are non-dual in terms of substantiality.
Then, so therefore, you see the philosophical field, I think many scientists really showing interest. And then psychology. In the psychology field, sometimes I publicly also is mentioning the Buddhist psychology or ancient Indian psychology compared with modern psychology. Then modern psychology looks like kindergarten level. Indian psychology highly developed. So this is useful for academic subject. And people know more about the system of our emotion. Then the better position to tackle these destructive emotions. So some that part I think even the subject for health. Understand course.
So regarding this subject on mind, emotions, can also relate to our health.
Subject for health. In order to develop healthy body, healthy mind, very important. Now that also now scientists say that. So also language Jordan de Dirwanda. Kasore. Shashe sums tong you, Junse Goju, Shidu Goju. Shidu Goju is the Junse Goju to the items. Kasa. Nearly done better, but we chairman of Chinese and any Mundu Namsha land a touchdown social to the Teddy, so it on the military challenges boys, Tikuda.
In the Buddhist field of study, we normally have categorized 3 fields. What is known as the obvious phenomena, and then the slightly hidden phenomena, and completely hidden phenomena. If you get a sense of clear direction of the area of the complete, the hidden phenomena, then it will also give you more kind of confidence with regard to understanding of the slightly hidden phenomena. Like, for example, if you have a very good understanding of the possibilities of complete enlightenment, omniscience, that will give you
Nirodha.
And Nirodha. Then that will give you a complete, more confidence for understanding the possibilities of obtaining a human life or nirvana and so forth.
That Junse Goju Namsha, down the public zane, dancing to the data 7 down the public zane, Tar Dosati, Munudo,
And with regard to the establishment of the subjects within the slightly hidden phenomena, which is normally done through inferential cognition, that's of course very important, but the inferential cognition is sometimes compared as a blind man groping in the darkness. It may not be so definite, so it has to ultimately come down to the experiential part, obvious and manifest level of the phenomena.
So now, scientific finding, very helpful. So therefore, I usually describe myself half scientist, half Buddhist. So it's okay, like that. So in any way, I think in those Buddhist texts, Nalanda Master's text, I think we should make distinction, somewhat academic subject that we can learn. So that's all. Now some questions.
Can I just, sorry.
No, I think even during Vidyaloke and last night we talked about the teachings of the Nalanda Masters and how that must come in the pedagogy of what we talked then and now. Why don't you share that with His Holiness in the specificity of the research angle, the scientific angle that you always talk about introducing rather than generalities. I think this is a good time to raise that. Go ahead.
I think His Holiness has been articulating that there are two separate projects. One which is on the secular ethics side, where we don't kind of infringe into the realm of spirituality, as it were. But there too a question is there, especially for India, which is comfortable with esoteric thought, and it does have a long tradition of wisdom, whether some element of that can be brought in. And then the second project His Holiness is mentioning is about the revival of ancient Indian knowledge. There too I think there are two aspects to it. One which takes it very much as an academic subject, which for example should come into our school systems, taking it as a science of the mind and as the philosophy, the first two aspects of what His Holiness mentioned.
And the logic.
And the logic. I mean, it is in a sense quite strange that, you know, references to Western psychologists and philosophers are made in our school education, yet our own traditions are not taught, or our own science. And then Vidyaloke's domain is going more in the direction of the wisdom and spiritual, where it is about the inner journey and inner path. So I actually think there are two major projects and two sub-projects for each of them, with a very specific India-based element, because I think His Holiness is also saying that what can be done here in India is different to what can be done in the West. However, India's population being so large and the world often looking towards India for answers, if we create transformation in India on all of these fronts, it can become a beacon of light for the rest of the world as well. So there's a big India opportunity here and a world opportunity here.
The revival of ancient Indian knowledge, then I think easily shared with whole Asian Buddhist country, mainly China. This is a follow of Nalanda, Chinese Buddhist tradition. So therefore, if we properly develop certain things, then I think millions of Chinese, or even government level, may reject because my name involved there. So this, no matter how wonderful thing, but it comes from a demon with horn. But doesn't matter. But the personal level or the public level, I think actually next week I'm going to teach some Chinese come from mainland China, few hundred. So the last few years, I special arrangement, Chinese who come from mainland China. Of course, like Bodh Gaya, few hundred or few thousand is Chinese from mainland China. So I think India, in 2000 years ago, the Buddha Dharma developed in this country, then reached whole Asia. So now some ideas, some combination with the ancient Indian knowledge, I think can help to all those Buddhist, Asian Buddhist countries. I think certainly share these things. We will get benefit. So see, yeah, our sort of work, our research work, I think eventually effect for, I think, over 2 billion human beings. I think about 3 billion, I think, all Asian Buddhist countries. So our work is not so simple. So we have to finalize this very, very carefully. And thorough investigation, thorough research, like that. Then you mentioned some teachers, some my talk. That's very easy. I'm very happy. Wherever you see you can arrange a few hundred teachers or 1,000, 2,000. I'm ready.
Speak to Dalai.
Yes, okay. Now you see that the demon with whom very, very keen to make brainwash.
I just wanted to add to what you said about the next task should be the study of what is happening in different institutions.
Right. Oh.
And I thought one of the things we could also do is like each institution could do a pilot. I know Emory has already been doing it.
Yes.
But other institutions could also do small pilot
That's
studies
right.
themselves.
Yes.
And also then do research on that. That is, what are the outcomes amongst
Yes.
the teacher trainees or
That's
amongst
right.
the students. And we could also share that with each other. So that we learn from what are the ways in which it's actually impacting us, so that whether we need to modify it or change what we are doing in a particular way. Only then we should put it in the public domain.
That's right.
Yeah, once we've actually done the pilots, then shared it with each other, got feedback on that, and then again revise our modules. I think only then it should go for the public.
I think now time comes, we have to carefully study or investigate what kind of research, what kind of effect comes. Then there may be some differences.
Yes.
Some method, you see, produce more effective. Some method still remain intellectual, like that. So then I think this kind of meeting, I think hopefully annually take and exchange different experiences. Then eventually, I think we can finalize something. Then can approach to government. So in the sort of process, I always available. No problem.
Yes,
So now
please.
finish.
Question.
Your
Yes.
Holiness, I have a question for you about trying to teach children morality without religion. This is the biggest challenge of the 21st century. And in the past, there was a continuum. Families were religious, schools were religious, children.
Religious. Feminists were religious.
Yes, yes.
There were also powerful modes of dress. There were rituals, services, prayers, temples, gurdwara, mosques,
Yes.
churches, and so on. So can you give us advice on how to bring the very powerful symbols and rituals and modes of behavior that a divine law or a belief in a divine law or a set of customs and practices can give to those of us who are trying to educate and raise children? Can you give us advice how to replace that, or how to draw on that, or how to create rituals and symbols of our own? Because I think otherwise the universal secular ethics program may become just another Western Enlightenment project if we're not careful, if it's too scientific. We had a mention by Professor Meenakshi about schools as sacred spaces, and I'm very keen that a school should be a sacred space. How do we create sacredness with just science?
My fundamental belief, religion of human being. So we, social animal, and biologically, as I mentioned before, biologically we are more compassionate in nature. Therefore, all major religious traditions, you see, carry a message, it's love. In that respect, no differences. In philosophical field, there's differences. Even within theistic religion, there are some differences. And then non-theistic religion also there are differences. As I responded to the truth. No, too much truth. So some truth contradictory each other. So that's very difficult to say this truth is real truth, that truth is not truth. That's very difficult. So in any way, philosophical field, there is differences. That necessary. Therefore, Buddha, as I mentioned earlier, first Dhamma will, second Dhamma will, third Dhamma will. You see, teaching for Buddhist, but it's a different concept he mentioned. Not due to Buddha's own confusion, nor he deliberately tried to create more confusion among his followers. No. That's why. You see, people with a different mental disposition need different sort of philosophical views. The aim is same, strengthening love, compassion. Now theistic religion, we all created by God. God, everybody say, infinite love. So this very life created by God. We have very close link with God. So that concept very, very powerful to develop sort of enthusiasm, practice of love, forgiveness. So therefore, you see, all these major religious traditions, you see, use different philosophy, different ritual. Essence is same. Now since the essence of all religion is love, so now secular ethics, real message is promotion of love. So people, I think, who have the conviction, their love, compassion, is really the best source of our inner peace, inner strength, self-confidence. Then various religious traditions can help immensely. Then I think certainly will reduce the little bit sort of mischievous religious people. So the religion sometimes is dividing. Now common ground there. All teach us love. Or the philosophy, there's differences. The same purpose, then no problem. So I don't think you see any sort of conflict. Those countries, Judeo-Christian background country and eventually Islam, Muslim countries. So Allah, the infinite Allah. So all his creation, the seed of Allah, yeah, that's compassion. So any Muslim, genuine Muslim, and generally, if any Muslim who creates bloodshed, then no longer genuine Muslim practitioner. So as I mentioned earlier, jihad is compared with your own emotion, not harming other. So no need this protection.
Please allow me. At a very practical level, if you normally when we go to school, we get a holiday for religious leaders.
Yes.
We go to a temple or a church or a gurdwara, whatever. We have assembly. We sing songs that are written by our holy scriptures, whether it's from the Bible or it is from the Gita or from the Guru Granth Sahib. What Peter is saying is that if our platform is not religion and it is love, compassion, secular ethics, what must we do to replace these symbols? What are the other symbols we should use to give the message?
I think different religious tradition, at least
That's
2,000 years old, it will remain another few thousand years. So the religion, you see, further strengthening basic human value, use faith and some servants of different philosophy. So no problem. I am Buddhist. I'm a student of Nalanda Masters, a quite lazy student. But I really find very useful, analyze things. So on the the Nalanda Masters of writing, very critical sort of debate about the creator of these things. But for me, no problem. To some people, Buddha himself, the Sanje Vichugi, the total so the Dhamma. Rede, Jumdendegi, Pumungana Kuru, Kurkobon, Kansa, Sonatigi, Pumbu Kigegi, Pumbu Kigegi, Kansa, Sutu Yavarasum.
The main principle in the Buddhist philosophy is selflessness. But still, we But still we find mentioning in his text that these 5 skandhas, 5 psychophysical aggregates are loads or burdens that's carried by the person, meaning that he still talks about the existence of the person.
Besides 5 skandhas, there is, he didn't mention Atma, but indirectly, you see, that meaning, the separate, self is separate from this skandha, 5 skandhas of bodies and mind. So then, certainly, there are many good Christians, good Muslims, good Jews, good Hindus, good Sadhajis, like that. Like Mother Teresa, such a sort of own feeling and sense of responsibility comes from her own religious belief, Catholic. So many wonderful people there. So all religions have the same potential to produce good human beings. So the secular ethics is, I feel, basis of all major religious traditions. Different religion, I think, modify that basic value and use different philosophy, different concepts. That's my view.
Can I?
secular, I feel, another word, foundation of all major religious tradition. So on that basis, they further develop. Then you see these different religious traditions, and including some rituals or some prayers. Then no problem.
So it's only saying that secular ethics is not doing away with those costumes, rituals, and singings that we have in different religions. It provides the basis and the foundation for higher practice.
Oh, now here, according Indian understanding, secular, which we are used often, secular, according Indian understanding. You see, according Indian understanding, secular means respect all religions,
yes.
and also non-believer. So that concept, I think, very fit today's world. Now, out of 7 billion human beings, around 1 billion non-believer. And some of them really anti-religions. But okay, his or her personal view, okay. So long remain good human being, no problem. So, in the West, the very word secular, so sometimes you see the little bit negative attitude towards religion. Then in some cases, secular, I think French Revolution and the Bolshevik Revolution, you see, intensively, I think, use the word secular. So that, you see, something a little bit negative towards religion. That also, I think, the deeper level, I feel, what's religion? Love is religion. Nobody against that. Revolutionary people also, you see, cannot against love. I think Karl Marx of those French revolutions or the people, and also the Bolshevik, who can against the love? So at that time, religious institution, they against. That's the sufficient reason. The kings or queens or sort of elite sort of community who suppress people, exploiting people, they used to say, oh, they have some special blessing from God. So now in order to topple that system, they also need some kind of courage to against God. So during that such period, I think there are some sort of mental element to against God. Okay. Because the other side, too much sort of use God's special blessing. So we already discussed about India's caste system. That also, you see, they to say in order to justify their suppression, the upper class, they say they have some special sort of blessing or from God. Isn't it? So like that. So therefore, it is understandable during French Revolution and the Bolshevik Revolution, there is some element anti-religion. That actually not anti-religion, but anti-religious institution.
He had a.
I was just going to add as a former public school teacher. I was going to add as a former public school teacher in the United States, who also is, I'm also a person without a religion, and I was not raised with a religion either, that in my classroom I was able to create rituals based in caring that perhaps draw from some religious traditions, but are also based in science, such as touch when a student walks in the room, things like that, that the creation of those kind of rituals in a secular setting can be extremely valuable and take the place of what you're talking about that may be missing.
And the church secular ethics ki lotse the chulu ki la tenche masewa ina ta to this ritual that is so complicated that chiso na ritual that tende that malang is malang the secular chulu me wa chen yes. In a lot of mixing rituals, they touch the heart, touch the chulu, the whatever so don't chew it as
Karsa chulu.
Chulu the material and chogas Hindu chicken, the Chinese or problem the
And so, what is the question? What was the point?
I was just adding comment.
Oh, good.
Your Holiness, I wanted to just caste is a reality in our Indian context, especially also for young people who are now in colleges and also in higher education, and at an age group when caste determines who you fall in love with as well, because caste determines who you fall in love with, who you love as well, because marriages are also
yes. I think one time, I think Haryana, due to marriage, actually one murder case is happening.
Not many murders. Many murders.
So how do we? What are your views? Which type of philosophy? How do we address this? How do we come out?
As I already mentioned, I think mentioned or not here, the caste system, as I briefly mentioned, I think used for justify the landlord, upper class. So that sort of habit come from feudal system. Feudal system gone. So any traces which come from feudal system now must change. So now in this respect, religious leader, I think, should come out and tell people. Even you accept as the creator. The creator, you see, all human beings created by one God. If there is in heaven some caste system, and upper caste created by God himself, and a lower caste created by some servant of God, that's something different. Yes, what?
I just wanted to add to that. In India, the caste system, one of our students took this work, the tools and exercises of what we were teaching, to a community outside Bombay, 3 hours from Bombay, but very rural caste system. And she said, I will take what you taught me to the community. She translated it into Marathi. She took it, and basically what she asked the question is, if she accessed the space of this universal compassion inside, and said, if that is what is inside you, what is missing? What is missing in this picture? In 2 years, her task was to form self-help group of women for saving and helping themselves. Most NGOs form all Dalit women one group, all Muslim women one group. She took these tools of emotional self-awareness, universal compassion, and asked this question, and she formed a group mixed, upper caste, lower caste, middle caste. So in 2 years, if we actually take this to communities in local language, we can change, but it requires perseverance and practice. Otherwise, we go back to old way of working. So I just wanted to share that result of this student taking this course, then saying, no, not only for me, for others, I want to take it to grassroots.
So I feel the religious leader have, I think, special role. So I'm thinking of hoping some sort of leaders, spiritual leaders, some sadhus, some spiritual leaders, Lama, Swami. I already have, this is some quite familiar. So some few occasions I express. Now they change certain sort of habit, which they believe some connection with certain spiritual philosophy, tradition. Then the government cannot do much. the spiritual leader should come out to that. And through education also makes differences. Otherwise, you say, I heard, I think in Bihar or some other places, the well, the water from that well used by upper class, the lower class cannot drink.
No, yes.
That one. And then as in marriage, all these things. So that's, I think, one of, drawbacks of this country. Now we have to change.
Yes, I also feel that sometimes this issue of caste and community and religion and marriage is only talked about in the villages or the poorer sections of society. It happens with the wealthy as well. It happens right around here. Dowry still happens in very hidden ways. And when the question of marriage comes up, even in the wealthiest so-called Ivy League educated families, suddenly religion, caste, and so on and so forth becomes part of the dialogue. So I also think the wealthy, the influential, the politicians, the thought leaders, they also can set a positive example for the rest of the country. I don't think we do that enough.
So, right. In Ladakh, see, many years ago, some discrimination, some because of the Chaoswa,
the ironsmith,
and Tamasumi.
And the drum beaters. Drum beaters.
So I, in public, sort of my teaching, I mentioned, Buddha clearly mentioned, you see, different caste, no differences, all equal. And Buddha did Kasa, 자좀 녀거리보다 녀걸 따지게 되게 되게 녀디 개우가다 개우디 개우지 아니 되게 녀걸 강시다 시업서다 가버려야 돼. 그것도 규주셔야지. 제가 이렇게 메신 정도.
At the time of the Buddha, there was an arhat by the name Upali, who was a Berber. He was a Berber. But the king at that time bowed to him because of his religious achievement, bowed him and touched his feet. So there's no discrimination in terms of caste.
Even Mao Zedong once told me, 1954 and 54 autumn, I went to Peking. Then next, I think about 4 or 5 months, I remained in Peking. So several times, meeting with Chairman Mao Zedong. At that time, we developed almost some kind of relation, father and son. So on occasion, Chairman Mao Zedong, mentioned or expressed Gautama Buddha was revolutionary. He against caste system. When he showed me more favor about Buddha Dharma. The last our meeting, then he mentioned, my mind is more scientific minded, therefore religion is OP. So perhaps I cheated Chairman Mao Zedong. So in Ladakh, I mentioned these things. So eventually, the Kasa, and some occasion, you see, the public teaching, the tea bring. So I asked, you see, the Kasa,
So during one of those public meetings, His Holiness intentionally met one of those drum beaters who were seen as outcasts to serve tea to His Holiness by them.
So now, eventually, some change there. So in Ladakh, of course, majority of them Buddhist and historically very close with Dalai Lama. So my word, some effect. So now plain, I think the group spiritual leader and one voice, I think we need.
Just a query and a concern that I share, Your Holiness. As part of our...
I think... Oh, 15 minutes, okay.
As part of our work in secularism, just to share with this audience and with you, we took a large group of children to meet the Imam at Fatehpuri Masjid, who knew you well, Dr. Mufti... Mufti Muhammad Mukarram Ahmad Saab. Fatehpuri Masjid in Old Delhi. And the students came away from there, they were grade 11 students, many times over, they came away saying, but he's a normal person. So
they have an idea about being a Muslim.
Yeah, so my question really is that do visits like this, if they can be a part of this larger understanding, because children are so alienated and so wrongly influenced by so many sources. So Mufti Mukarram Sahab actually asked that, what did you think I'd be? And they said, we thought you'd have a gun. Gun. And you would be loud and, shouting. So they have such a different vision of a religious leader.
Right, that's right.
So, if we can do something collectively to take away this, but we think you're normal kind of...
Yes. That's why I always stress, I am one of the 7 billion human beings. Many Buddhists, and especially Tibetan, consider me the living Buddha. Nonsense. And a manifestation of our Lukutishvara. If I touch, their illness may disappear. So if that kind of power, if I had, and my power should go by me. Of course, the merit side and previous, I think, several lives, certain practice, certain experience, some impact on this life. That I also feel that the reason this is a certain subject which the other scholars find a little bit difficult. For me, such subject sometimes very easy. Then another subject they find easy, I find very difficult. So that some sort of indication, the familiarity, familiarization with previous life. So and that. So I think the religion sometimes is a public level, a traditional level, blind faith. That must change. Without a reason. In order to explain about God, Creator, you see, you have some sort of, you can use some reasons. Now, scientific knowledge, there's limitation. Through science, scientific research, either prove God, no disprove, cannot. God, concept of God is beyond science. Okay, no problem. One occasion in England, the John Main was the followers of John Main. John Main, I remember, I met one occasion in Canada. Wonderful Christian practitioner. his faith is such strong. And we together, he carries some songs praising God with certain instrument. And he singing that cheer. His faith is genuine faith. So his follower, one occasion invited me, that's in England. So they give me a difficult task. They explain gospel, certain sort of passage. So I try to explain existence of God, creator. Not easy. But then afterwards, you see, some members from the audience, they expressed to me, oh, my explanation about God or Creator is very, very helpful for their faith. So that's, I think, the result of sharpening mind, Buddhist philosophy, and also result of we study, like Baba Vega's kasa, talking about this, oh, I don't know that word. So, you see, all existing different philosophy at that time, he mentioned. So study these things, very, very helpful. Or this philosophical view, you see, they criticize this philosophical view. And this philosophical views answer for that. And then knowing both view, and then analyze by yourself. Very, very helpful. Just one sort of philosophy and believe that not much help to develop our sharpness of our mind. So that's why all these Nalanda Master's texts, Kaksha, Pongso,
refuting the others' wrong views, presenting one's own thesis, and then eliminating the doubt.
So that's very, very important. So any subject, I think we need Kaksha, Pongso, subject.
So whatever field of subject you study, this threefold process of refuting the wrong view, presenting the right view, and then eliminating the doubt is very, very important.
So all these come from India, Indian masters. So I always describe, we are Chela of Indian Guru. So now it seems Chela more knowledge than Guru. Is, I think, very unfortunate. India, traditionally our Guru, but you see too much excited about money or material things.
Correct.
Isn't it? So I think you neglect all these ancient Indian knowledge. Now more and more Indian are really showing, in the West also, there are signs, more and more signs, that fed up about materialistic life. That's, I think, very, very right. The material value, there is limitation. Material life provides physical comfort, not mental comfort. We need material thing, bring physical comfort, but at the same time, we also need certain knowledge to bring inner peace. So India, I often is telling, India is the only nation who can combine modern sort of knowledge, modern technology, plus this ancient Indian knowledge. Secular way. And I think India, you see, can serve humanity, I think, more wider way, right?
And as you say, Holiness, pluralistic society, tolerant society as well.
Oh, religious harmony, I think this country, I think wonderful. I think I mentioned briefly yesterday also. I think religious harmony, wonderful, really wonderful. So India sort of, as an existing religious harmony, gives me so the encouragement, we can do promotion of this harmony, because this country, over billion populated nation, and a quite complicated nation, but religious harmony over 2,000 years. Yeah. So other countries, why not? We can develop religious harmony.
May I now request Dembala, please make a vote of thanks. And before the Dembala makes this vote of thanks, I would really like to thank Dembala, his assistant, and everybody who is working behind the scene and make this kind of gathering very, very successful. And I should not forget Anandjit Singh and family and Veer and your team for always providing these resources and facilities. Thank you so much, Dembala.
Holiness, on behalf of all the participants, I would like to express our profound sense of gratitude for your presence here, for your advice, for your guidance, and above all, for providing the world a vision to make the world a better world, to make human beings more compassionate, more caring, and more considerate. I would like to thank you very much. And then I would also like to thank the participants for coming here and to take very active part, and to get fully involved. And we had an extremely animating discussion, and also there's a lot of commitment and dedication to carry forward and to make an extra effort for the realization of the vision that His Holiness has provided to us. And thank you, and we need to really have this determination and commitment carried out. And then I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the representatives of the Ministry of Human Resource Development and NCRT for sending representatives here to the meeting, and also for your very active participation, and also for consenting to consider any proposals or project that we submit. And we thank you very much for this project to realize and to be available to the whole India. I think the ministry's blessing, ministry's involvement, ministry's participation is extremely important. So thank you very much. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Mr. Anandjit Singh and Veer and his family for hosting us and for putting at our disposal all the facilities at your house. And we are extremely grateful to you. And I tend to take advantage of this kindness and generosity all the time, and I will continue to take it, and I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have a group photo.
Oh yes, yes. I want to special thank the Kasa, whether the Kasa should me won't the the Lu won't the any chatting Jishi. And when a part of that you want the huge. Chasaga, as a doing I put some of the station to Chis.
I would also like to thank for providing these wonderful enjoyments. For example, the flower, beautiful flower to behold, and this to behold,
oh yes,
to behold, and then this towel, which is very useful for cleaning, for touch, and then also the tea or the drink for the taste, and similarly this very relaxed atmosphere for the mental enjoyment. So I really appreciate providing those sources of enjoyment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, we made an album of Vidya Loki with the photograph.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Where? Group picture where? Outside?
Outside, I think outside.
Outside.
Come.
Get everyone.
Okay. Can you look this way? Yeah, if everyone can look this way, please.
1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you. See you again.